Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAA Network, Monday, July 17th. I'm happy to be back in studio and end the soccer mutiny that did occur while I was gone as I welcome my co-host Kevin Coleman, and a little disappointed in your decision-making last week.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Kev, no, it was a great week. Some really good guests, very impressive. Nice to hear what everyone had to say from Paul Carcaret of ESPN on his lacrosse intake all the way to the Richfield soccer team. And that's plenty of soccer for the summer, though. Let's get back to the important stuff, and that is today's trivia question for you.
Okay.
More impressive, Roger Federer winning Wimbledon at 37 or Tim Tebow's walk-off homer?
Listen, it has to be Roger Federer. At 37 years old, not easy to do at Wimbledon. You know, yes, while Tim Tebow is, it's impressive. I still haven't bought into Tim Tebow really being a baseball player. And again, you have to give a lot of credit to Roger Federer. Again, year after year, just being that dominant force at the age he is right now, 37. Not easy to do. I got to give it to my man, Roger.
It's a terrible answer. But what else is impressive is how the Bridgeport Bluefish have been playing to start the second half of the of the Atlantic League season. And for more on that, we welcome in our Bridgeport Bluefish insider, Mr. Joe Mixie. Joe.
Oh, I like the title, Insider.
There you go. You did a great job last week as well, Joe, filling in.
Thank you.
I appreciate you wanted to go a little more casual now. You're back out of the suit, but
yeah.
Everything looked good with the exception of the pocket square. You didn't need it. You didn't need the pocket square.
Didn't need the pocket square. I'm trying to. I got to live up to the hype of Kevin.
Oh, he's trying to be too fancy. But Joe, the Bluefish sitting at 6-4 right now. They've got a half-game lead over New Britain in the Liberty Division. What can you tell us about how they did last week and this past weekend?
Well, they took the bulk of last week off. They had the All-Star break, and then they had 5 All-Stars play in the Atlantic League All-Star game over in Bridgewater Township, New Jersey. We talked about that last week on Coffee Break. They had a weekend series over at People's Bank Park at York. They went 2-1 in that series. They're not done with the Revs yet in July. They're going to play them next week, but they get a little bit of break from them. They've been playing the Revolution a whole lot as we headed into the month of July. They won the first 2 games in the series on Friday and Saturday night, 7-5 and 5-4. Last night they lost 6-3, but they wrap it up on a high note, winning the first 2 out of a 3-game series in the All-Star. After the All-Star break, that's definitely good. In their last 10 games, they've had 5 home runs. They have a pair of players batting over 500 over 400 in their last 9 games. Currently, as you said, 6-4 in the second half, and they're 47-33 overall. First in both aspects. So best record in the second half currently in the Atlantic League, and best overall record if you take the first half and the little bit of the second half that we've been in. Bluefish are doing the best so far. So overall record doesn't count for too much right now. That's not going to get them a playoff spot. What is if they win the second half. And currently they're doing a very good job. So they're successful, and they're going to be heading into a 7-game homestand, which begins tonight at the ballpark at Harbor Yard.
And that 7-game homestand will then go to a day off next Monday and then 3 games at York. I think that you don't want to put too much pressure on this, Joe, but with games coming up against Somerset and then Maryland, if they could find a way to take 5 out of 7, they're really setting themselves up to be very successful here in the second half of this season.
Sure they are, yeah. And Somerset's a tough team. They always play Bridgeport tough. They're no exception this year. Southern Maryland was kind of the surprise team. Coming up at the end of the month, Southern Maryland and Lancaster are going to play for a playoff game to see who wins the Freedom Division. I don't believe that's ever happened before, so that's a first. But Southern Maryland, a potential division victor, and Somerset they won the first half of the Liberty Division. So 2 tough teams coming to the ballpark at Harbor Yard. One of the main things for Bridgeport is that 7 out of their next 10 games are going to be at home. They need to take advantage of that. If they could, win 5, 6 of those games that are just at home, would be huge for them, and they could really make a push over New Britain, who they're a half game ahead of right now, but they don't really pose a threat. Bridgeport I think they're 12-1 against New Britain in the 2017 season. In terms of personnel, which is what they're going to be carrying into against the Patriots tonight, they had a couple transactions over the All-Star break. They released pitcher Kevin Jeffress, a young guy who just pitched once for them. Didn't really make too much of an impact. They had a 4th player to be purchased this season was Brian Moran, the relief pitcher signed on to the L.A. Dodgers. He goes over and joins former Bridgeport teammate Chris Rierick at the Tulsa Drillers, the AA affiliate of the Dodgers. So the fourth player to be signed by Bridgeport. Congratulations to him, because this is the second time in 2 years he's been signed. He's kind of been in and out. He's from New York, so he always finds his way back to the Bluefish, but he's off to affiliated ball. They signed a relief pitcher in Reamer Roybal, and I want to make sure I say that name right. Reamer Roybal, 28 years old, out of Cuba, has reached as high as AAA at Lehigh Valley for the Philadelphia Phillies, so he'll add to that bullpen and kind of fill in for Brian Moran. But with those roster changes and the power that they've had in the lineup, they hope to be successful starting out this week against Somerset.
Now, Joe, last week you mentioned this homestand that the Bluefish are going to be on. Last week we spoke on, you really touched upon, the great promotions and, the great giveaways they do at Harbor Yard. Tonight they have Service Industry Night, but they also have coming up the Battle of the Sexes game against the Stratford Burkettes. Talk a little bit about what we should expect from not only tonight's game, from that great game coming up against Stratford.
So we got 8 games in 7 days. I'll end with that because I want to go through them a little bit. There's a whole bunch of promotions going on. It's a Service Industry Night tonight. Tomorrow is a camp day. If you're not doing anything during the day and you want to hang out with 5,000 screaming children and watch the Bluefish at 11 a.m., come on down to the ballpark at Harbor Yard. It's always a fun time.
Joe, that means we're going to delay tomorrow's
coffee break live from Bridgeport.
Tomorrow. We'll be a camp day in Bridgeport instead.
That would be something. That'll bring us into Wednesday. I know you've been talking about this a lot. Paul O'Neill bobblehead night at the ballpark. Right. First 500 fans get a Paul O'Neill bobblehead. Bridgeport always does a great job with their bobblehead series. They've had everyone from Paul O'Neill to former Bridgeport Mayor Bill Finch to Obama to Roger Clemens, and the list goes on and on and on of just notarized figures around Bridgeport and Connecticut and baseball and the world that they've put on a bobblehead. So Paul O'Neill is the next one to follow down that path. Friday, is a train whistle giveaway night, courtesy of Amtrak, so toot toot. And then Saturday is a fireworks extravaganza, and then that brings us to Sunday, a 1:12 start time game. But then it's going to be a doubleheader, split admission doubleheader. Later that night is going to be the 4th annual Battle of the Sexes game. So the professional softball team, the Stratford Breakettes, you might have heard of them. They've won 28 national amateur championships right down the street in Stratford. They come to town. Bridgeport's 3-0 so far. They turn the ballpark at Harbor Yard into a regulation softball field, so they move the bases up a little bit. They put a fence up. This year's game is going to be very special. It's always a great time. The managers and some of the ballpark staff get in on the action as well, and they really play the Breakettes hard. The Breakettes play Bridgeport hard, I should say, but it's going to be special because part of the proceeds are going to someone who's been kind of famed as a local hero up in Milford, Danny Kemp, who was actually a girl I went to school with. She helped Foreign High School win a state championship in softball in 2011 over in the SEC and the CIAC. And then she went on to play at Stony Brook. She was Division I athlete. She unfortunately passed away of a brain tumor earlier this year. So the proceeds are going to go in part to the Danny Kemp Foundation. So if you'd like to support her, come out to the ballpark at Harbor Yard on Sunday. Certainly going to be great. And it's kind of been a recurring theme with Danny Kemp. I know, we do cover the FCAC, but I'll stick my little SEC ties in here. Foreign wins the Class L baseball championship. And, a lot of people said, that's Danny looking down over the Foreign high school community. So that was certainly a blessing. But come out, Battle of the Sexes. It's always a great time on Sunday. Actually, we got 2 Foreign guys, me and Suppy, 13 years apart, but still counts.
Suppy, you don't look a day over 25. And by the way, big props on the Mariners hat there as well. Old school. And
he's got the old logo.
It looks very, very good. Joe, the next month, in my opinion, for the Bluefish will be as critical as any really month they've had in the past decade.
That's true.
You've got the majority of your games coming up at home between now and August 13th. There's a 6-game homestand to start end July and start August, but then you've got 7 in a row at home before they're back on the road again. If the Bluefish are going to end this drought and make it to the playoffs, in my guess, I would say they have to be 5 or 6 games over 500 in that stretch, maybe more. Do you think that's asking too much out of that team?
I think that they're going to be much ahead of that. Right now they're 15 games over 500. I think at this point they're going to have to be more than 5 or 6 games over 500 if they're going to want to win. Right now it's close. We're in the beginning of the second half of the season. they're beginning to pull ahead, but they ultimately got to start putting up wins in the second half as we head into those home games. That's a big recurring factor for them.
And that's what it is. I mean, more in this stretch of home games now, they've got to find a way to be at least 5 or 6 games over 500 for this stretch. Then you've got a month and a half left of the season where you can really do some damage to other teams winning on the road. But if the Bluefish are going to have a chance at winning the second half, Joe, I just think that they've got to take care of games at Harbor Yard.
Yeah, they can't fall apart, and that was kind of the problem. Is they came very, very close to winning the first half. They ultimately lost it with 3 games left in the first half, and then they ended up winning their last 4 heading into the beginning of the second half, and they finished just a game behind Somerset, even though their magic number expired with 3 games left. It was interesting because they were doing so well at the beginning of the season, and you kind of wanted them to finish out strong. They were playing, they played York and then New Britain and then York and then New Britain and then York again, the 2 worst teams of the league back to back to back, and now they're going to start playing some of the tougher teams, not even talking about Somerset and Southern Maryland. They're going to go back to York the 25th through the 27th, and then Long Island is going to come to town at the end of July in the continuation of the Ferry Cup. So Long Island really likes to beat up at Bridgeport at the ballpark at Harbor Yard, and then they're going to play them over at Bethpage Ballpark in Central Islip from the 3rd to the 6th. And then you have Lancaster and then Sugar Land, who they haven't seen in a long time, could be a completely different team. So as things start to shape up in the second half, you get guys like Brian Moran and others who are successful and getting called up. That's kind of the goal of the independent leagues. They want their guys to get back into affiliated ball. It's encouraging for them. This is just kind of a stop on their baseball career tour, if you will. But while they're here in the Park City, they want them to succeed as well. So it starts with the hitting. The starting pitching has to shape up. The bullpen looks good. Wins have to start coming, and they have to be able to win on any given day.
Well, it should be a very exciting second half of the season. We look forward to keeping your weekly updates with us here, Joe. And I'm glad you brought up that Battle of the Sexes game, because when we get back on Nutmeg Sports, we're going to take a look at how the Breakheads have been doing, who are off to a red-hot start to this season. And one of our local FCX athletes had a great performance for them on Sunday night. That's coming up after the break on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Celebrate summer with fresh, made-to-order picnic boxes from Walter Stewart's Market. We have delicious summery selections from buttermilk fried chicken to grilled lemon chicken kebab, grilled shrimp Caesar salad wraps, or lobster salad rolls. Our easy-to-carry picnic boxes come with your choice of a meal, as well as a dessert, beverage, and utensils. Order online for simple pickup options. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and online at stewartsmarket.com.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The In Sports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
School's out, the weather is hot, and the fish are biting. Whether you're heading to the beach or out on a boat, stop in at the dock shop before you go to fill your beach bag or tackle box with everything you'll need for fun in the sun. A new beach cover-up, some sunscreen, or just some bait, the dock shop has you covered from either location. 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. And yes, you heard that right. Bait is now available in Darien and Westport. The dock shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. DockShop.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands right now at the summer clearance event. Going on now through July 31st.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN Network.
We are back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito, Kevin Coleman in studio. Thank you again to Joe Mixie for that Bluefish update. We talked a little bit about Sunday's Battle of the Sexes game coming up between the Bluefish and the Breakheads. Kev, the Breakheads have been red hot to start this year, though. They are 21-3 on the season. They have won 9 straight games, including last night's 8-0 win over Rock Gold of Newtown, led by Nicole Williams' one-hitter performance, striking out 5. It was her 8th win of the season, 7th in a row. We saw how good Nicole was last season playing for St. Joe's when they won their 4th straight state championship. She is now a member of the Manhattan College team, but she is just dominating at the amateur level right now, Kevin.
Which is so impressive, and it's great to see, too. We have a representative of the FCAC who was so dominant at the high school level at St. Joe's, and now she's taking it to collegiate level. And shout out to Manhattan Jaspers, my parents' alma mater. But again, Nicole Williams just continues to be dominant here in this league. And you talk about 7 straight wins. Again, just pure dominance. And she is fun to see. If you haven't seen Nicole Williams pitch before, you have to make that. You have to go check her out because she is remarkable on the mound. She mixes up her pitches. The batters don't know what's coming next. And she's got that high-speed fastball, which fools hitters. Got that breaking ball pitch. She's a dominant pitcher, Frank. She is a talent to watch.
All right, so 5 strikeouts in last night's game. Let's look ahead to Sunday. If Nicole is on the mound for the Battle of the Sexes game, over under 5 strikeouts against the Bluefish.
I'm taking the over.
Listen, the Breakheads are doing very, very well. We know how competitive they have been and what a great success this franchise has become in the past few years. They now are going to face off with the Connecticut Seahawks on Thursday night. It'll be a day-night doubleheader game. The second game starting at 7 o'clock. In other baseball news, Kev, you got an update from this morning on Coffee Break. A lot of action going on around Trumbull. We had some big wins in the Babe Ruth divisions for these teams.
Yeah, last week was a busy week for Trumbull, Babe Ruth. Not only were they on the field, but they actually came into the studio here on Nutmeg Sports. They joined myself and Joe Mixie. And again, got to give a shout out to Joe Mixie, Mike Suppy last week. They were great helping out. It was a great week, and we had a pleasure welcoming in those kids and Coach Mike Buswell. They were great in studio. A lot of fun. Got to listen and hear about what their experience so far is like playing for this Trumbull team. We're going to see them next week during their tournament, their regional tournament. That's going to be a lot of fun. They had a big win against Stanford, big win against Waterford last week, so they continue to play great baseball, and it really is going to be a blast to watch them play. This is a very talented team, considering their age, Frank. I think defense, while hitting is so important, it's the discipline on defensive side. They really focus on making sure that they don't have many errors per game, and you talk about these players, it's just so impressive. The age right now, it's not easy when you're in 8th grade going into high school. You're still in that fundamental stage, and to see the level that they're playing at, it really is impressive. And these kids are, like I said, I think they're going to start seeing their names make that varsity roster once they make that high school team.
So you've got the 14s getting ready for regional play in Trumbull this upcoming weekend. The 13s also took home a state championship. They're on their way to Massachusetts Wednesday morning to get ready for their regional tournament. We're going to be joined by some of the members of the 13 Trumbull U team, the 13U Trumbull team, before they head up that way. So we'll have that for you later this week. Trumbull softball's 11-year-old team took home a state title, and the Legion team out of Trumbull had a big win over North Haven as well. They have moved on to the round of 3 play now in the state tournament. Kev, when we do have those 13-year-olds in, we're going to have a full Trumbull breakdown day, as they seem to be the talk of the county right now when it comes to Babe Ruth baseball and youth softball.
Well, well-deserving. It's disappointing because I think you look at Trumbull baseball as a whole, not just at the varsity level, but you look all the way down to the youth program, to Little League, to Babe Ruth. You mentioned it. This is a very talented town and a good pool of players coming up through the youth program to when they get to middle school, and then when they get to the high school level, freshman, JV, varsity. These are some talented baseball players that come through the Trumbull baseball system, so it is a lot of fun to watch. But you also got to give a shout out to Richfield, who won the District 1 11 and 12-year-old championship on Saturday against Stanford, and it was their first district titles, first since 2007, 8th overall, and you just see Frank's reaction right there. Can't believe You just can't believe I'm bringing up Richfield
Always
again.
got to bring. It's always got to be about Richfield.
I
It's
know
always
it
about
doesn't.
Richfield. Hey, on that note, shout out to the New Canaan 9-year-old All-Stars who were playing for the district title coming up this Sunday. We're going to step aside one more time on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, we got a couple local football stories we covered before the day is done. Coming up next on the HAN Network.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now at the summer clearance event. Going on now through July 31st.
You don't have to go far for authentic Neapolitan cuisine and renowned wood-fire pizza. Pizzeria Loretano of Bethel is a contemporary Italian bistro, specializing in authentic wood-fired brick-oven pizza Napolitana. Pizzeria Loretano was named one of America's top 1,000 Italian restaurants in 2008 by Zagat, and recommended by Jane and Michael Stern on National Public Radio's Splendid Table. Located close to the Bethel Cinema, we focus on quality, and our food is always made to order. Join us for live jazz Sundays from 6 to 8. Find our schedule, menu, and more at pizzerialoretano.com and like us on Facebook.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time. I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office.
Not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month.
Isn't it time you got Millerized?
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Bay Star and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
At Pure Barre Ridgefield, our tried and true method can shape every body and fit any schedule. Pure Barre is a total body workout using the ballet bar to perform small isometric movements which burn fat, sculpt muscles, and create long, lean physiques. Sweat away the day and get lost in the music. Pure Barre Ridgefield, located at 86 Danbury Road. Like us on Facebook at Pure Barre Ridgefield.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN Network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier Network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito with Kevin Coleman in studio. As we look at some football stories developing from over the weekend, number one, we want to offer congratulations to the Darien offensive linemen who won their 4th straight Connecticut Lineman Challenge. And the big reason for this really standing out to me, Kevin, is not that it was unexpected, but you're now talking about a group of linemen that are losing Andrew Stuber, players like Cord Fox and Quinn Fett, a lot of guys who have been a part of this line. Brian Keating at center for a couple of years. This is a whole new group. It is very, very critical for this Darien team to keep this winning streak going, for them to have a steady line to protect whoever their quarterback is and be able to run behind this year.
It's very important. It's a well-deserving award because you mentioned just those names, Stuber, Fox, Keating. You mentioned that offensive line that was so dominant for the last 3 years or so, 2 to 3 years. Again, just so dominant. And you're right. I think we talked about it during the Grip It and Rip It tournament that I think there's a huge question mark right now on the Blue Wave. I think, again, they'll definitely be competitive. I think this is going to be a strong team. Don't get me wrong. But what's their quarterback situation like? What's their secondary like? It's a little bit of a question mark, which I don't think we've seen in a while for the Blue Wave. But I want them to prove me wrong this upcoming fall.
In my mind, I still think you're looking at New Canaan and Darien, and then it's everyone else. And I don't think the gap is as big as we've seen in past years. But until a team proves they can knock off one of these defending state champions, they're in a class themselves. Now, I think people are giving a little more of a nod to New Canaan right now because you bring back Drew Pine, and it goes such a long way with how athletic he is. But I'm not sleeping on the Blue Wave at all, and this is a step in the right direction for them to making sure that they continue to be successful and this winning streak moves on. You also want to give some props to Mike Neary. He won the Best Lineman Award at the Challenge. Week 1, they go to Tiger Hollow for a state championship rematch. They will win this game on the ground. I think they establish themselves and can establish themselves as a power again by dominating the ground game a little more than we've seen them run the ball in the past, where everyone in the conference now is just grip it and rip it.
Right. I think finally you're going to start to see Darien really move towards running the ball, I think, this fall. And you look at that Week 1 matchup against Richfield at Tiger Hollow. I think on paper, yes. I think everyone's expecting Darien to win this game in this rematch. But again, it's not an easy place to play, and I think Richfield's defense is going to be their strong part of this team this upcoming fall. Their offense takes a huge hit. Their defense, they get some key returners back, and I think when you play at Tiger Hollow like that, especially in Week 1 when emotions are going to be running high and student session is going to be loud, I think that defense is going to play a little extra harder that night. But again, I think Darien's still going to be a force this upcoming fall. But if there's one team, Frank, I think that can give Darien trouble, it's going to be the St. Joseph's Cadets.
It could be St. Joe's, and I would not sleep on Greenwich right now.
Yeah.
Everyone has talked about 2018 really being the year that Greenwich will return to its perennial power status. I think Coach John Marinelli has got these young men a year ahead of schedule. I don't know that they can win the FCAC this year, but I think they'll be a serious contender in Class L. I think they give the Rams in the Wave and anyone else on their schedule a run for their money. In the past few years, Greenwich has suffered from some little mistakes, some mental mistakes that have been the difference. I think they folded under pressure at times when things got tough. This is a very resilient group now. They've been together and come up through this new system that Coach Marinelli's put into place. I like the Cardinals to be very successful this year.
I do too, and I think you start with Gavin Muir. Again, so impressive what I saw from the Grip It and Rip It tournament. Again, last year as a sophomore, splitting time with Connor Langan, I think that was huge for Gavin Muir. Just even talking to him, he told me how important it was, how Connor Langan was a role model, a mentor in a way, and he would show him the ropes and give him the keys to the Lamborghini now, the red Lamborghini that he's going to take away. And I think for Gavin Muir, this is a big season for him. And luckily for Coach Marinelli and the rest of the Cardinals staff, they get him for another year too. He's only a junior. I think his talent-wise, I think it's only going up.
I do want to take a moment and advise some of our viewers here. I think you should go to the richfieldpress.com this week and check out the story by sports editor Tim Murphy on the new tackle style that is being implemented at the Youth Tiger football camp this week. It's become known as a rugby style, and it's been working its way from the professional levels down through college, high school, and now we're seeing it at the youth level as well. It was first really put into place and made well known and available for a lot of these younger levels, Kevin, by Pete Carroll and his staff with the Seattle Seahawks, and the way they're now trying to approach tackling with the head far less involved. You want your head off to the side, away from the body, and you're really working on tackling with shoulders and trying to wrap and roll versus essentially go through guys. It's something I used when I was coaching at the college level. We preached it a lot. It is making its way through the game. I think it's very cool that this is going to be 30 minutes a day for the whole week at this camp, and they are going to make sure that these kids are doing everything to tackle the right way and protect themselves now, as the game just by nature, as the size of the players gets bigger, the more violent the game has become. It is a physical game, so we have to do everything properly to ensure the safety of the players, and this is one of the necessary steps.
Right, and I think someone who's going to make sure that's going to happen at Richfield High School is Coach Pete McLean, and he's been there for a long time and a great strength and conditioning coach. He's going to be the one, taking the charge on this. And you're right, 30 minutes a day, I think it's huge. I think this is something that is going to carry on through the next couple of years, 5 to 10 years maybe. And concussions have been a huge problem in football. not just at the NFL level, college level, high school level. You're looking at the Pee-wees too. You're taking the head out of the tackle now, and I think it's important that football players are starting to learn the way to tackle like this, and I think it's going to be huge. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this can progress throughout the next couple of years.
Again, that article is available at theridgefieldpress.com. Lastly, Kevin, this past week I was fortunate enough I was invited down with the New Canaan football team to Hoover, Alabama. They were competing in the National Select 7-on-7 passing tournament. We're going to have more on that later on in the week. We've got some interviews with players and some footage of their games. But I learned a lot about the Rams this week, seeing that Drew Pine looked very good competing against the nation's best, and I was pleasantly surprised to see New Canaan win a couple of games. They were very competitive, and it looked like a great experience for the kids. They had a lot of fun getting to appreciate the hospitality of the South.
Oh, I'm sure. Getting down to University of Alabama, that's not bad, checking out where the Crimson Tide play. And I think you're right, Frank. I think it's big for the Rams. The chemistry is there, but a trip like this really brings a team together. You get that morale going, the coaching staff, it's just the chemistry-wise, that's huge for the Rams, I think.
It's going to be a lot of fun for sure to see that and how the Rams did. That's all we've got for today, but you know what? We're getting closer and closer. We're talking about football. We're about just inside a month before you see some of the team practice camps, and then before that, opening day and all the preseason camps are going to be right on top of us.
Before you know it, Johnny Kovac is going to be on the chalkboard.
Johnny is ready to get back into Chalk Talk. We're excited to start figuring out where we are going to be week 1 of the FCIAC football season. For Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. We thank you for tuning in. We're back again tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and we got double duty. We're in for the day doubleheader. Coffee break at 11 with us. We'll see you then on the HOM Network.